What's going on YouTube? It's very important for a brand to have a strong entry point, and that's exactly what the A3 is. It is Audi's most affordable offering, but honestly most people wouldn't be able to tell it from the way it looks or the way it drives. That's why we're spending this lovely spring day at Audi of Lexington with the 2019 version that has a more standard equipment than last year. Of course, if you're in the market for any new Audi, be sure to stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with that all said, let's see if the A3 is good enough to hook people into the Audi brand for life. So like always, getting started with the exterior styling, the A3 looks very similar to its bigger and more expensive siblings. Of course, that does mean you have the signature single frame grille up front, which is black in the middle with chrome surrounds on all trims. Now turning to the headlights, they do change between the trims. So on your base model they are xenon HIDs, but on the Premium Plus and Prestige you get these full LED lights. Additionally, those trims also come standard with the S-Line appearance group, which adds this more aggressive lower fascia. Now checking out all the rest, you'll see that it continues to disguise its role as the entry-level Audi. Only a well-trained eye will notice the smaller footprint and stubbier rear end compared to the A4. And no matter what, you really can't say that it looks inexpensive. All models have a subtle lip spoiler, and for 2019, these full LED taillights with the dynamic turn signal is now on the Premium Plus trim instead of just the Prestige. Finally, the upper two trims come with this aggressive rear diffuser and separated exhaust instead of two side by side. So overall, while the A3 may be more affordable than the typical Audi, it doesn't look it. Now on this specific model, these wheels play a big role in making it look very upscale. They are 19-inch 5-spoke anthracite wheels that come straight from the S3 lineup, which on the Premium Plus and Prestige replace the standard 18-inch alloys. On the base Premium, you have standard 17-inch wheels with the option of upgrading to the 18s from the upper trims. Coming on up to the mirrors, every trim will get heating, but you'll have to get the Prestige for auto dimming and power folding. Premium Plus and up will also have standard blind spot monitoring. And as far as the rest of the safety systems, pre-sense emergency braking is standard, with lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise control coming on the Prestige. These features are part of what has contributed to the A3 being rated as a top safety pick 2019 from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Finally, wrapping up the outside, front-wheel drive A3s have 13.2 gallon fuel tanks and 14.5 gallons on the Quattro. That gives you ranges of 383 and 363 miles respectively, and premium fuel is required only for the Quattro model. Well anyways, that wraps up the exterior. So now let's go ahead and check out the new features on the inside. So on the Premium Plus and Prestige A3s, you will have Audi's Smart Entry System. However, all models will come with the older style Audi Switchblade key. Now of course, to get inside, all you have to do is just grab the handle because there's a sensor behind it. So checking out the cabin of the 2019 A3, as you can see, nothing has really changed for 2019, so it continues to look pretty stylish. Now as far as your interior materials and color options, Audi keeps it very simple. So on every model you're going to have real leather seating, so you don't have any type of synthetic leather or anything like the rivals usually offer. And you've got three color choices on all three trims. It's going to be black, rock gray, and then a brown. And turning over here to your door trim, it is nicely appointed. You got a soft touch armrest as well as a leatherette above it, and then you do have real aluminum trim across the top. All four of your windows are of course one touch automatic. Checking out your seat here, it is 8-way power adjusting across all the models, and you do have 4-way lumbar support as well. Then, like I was saying, Audi does nicely include real leather across all the models, even the base trim, and it does feel very nice. So like I was saying, the cabin carries over for 2019 unchanged, and that does mean you continue to have very nice materials for an entry-level car. So starting out in your upper dash, it is soft touch plastic, and then moving down here to your middle, you've got more of that real aluminum trim. Down in your lower areas, you do have some hard touch plastic, but everything does fit together in that typical really high quality Audi way. And then right here is your push button start, so you just press it to go. When you do, you'll see the signature pop-up 7-inch display. That is standard across all the trims. Now checking out the gauges here, of course, what you're looking at is Audi's virtual cockpit, and on the A3 that is standard on the Prestige and optional on the Premium Plus. Of course, this has all the same tricks as in other Audis, so you've got your audio, phone, as well as, and most importantly, your Google Earth maps here, so you have the full satellite view right in front of you, which is very impressive. Now coming back to the steering wheel, of course you do have electric power assisted steering, and all models come with this very nice leather wrapped steering wheel. As far as your buttons, these are just your virtual cockpit buttons on the left side, and then on the right side you've got your phone, voice, and audio controls. Additionally, you will find rain sensing wipers are standard across every A3. Now coming on down, as far as the steering wheel itself, it is manually tilt and telescoping across the trims. And I do believe that heating is not available on any A3. Then of course you've got your cruise control right up here. But anyways, moving on to interior storage, the A3 has more of it than you would expect from a vehicle of this size. So opening up the center console here, as you can see, this is just about as big as it is in the A4, so it's several inches deep. As well as the new 2019 feature on the Premium Plus and Prestige, you now have a wireless phone charger right here. Or you do maintain your traditional ports as well. Now the actual armrest itself, like in most other Audis, is adjustable, so you can get the ideal height that you want. Now up in the front, you've got your 2 cup holders and another decently sized bin, as well as your other USB port and your 12-volt outlet. Now, unlike most other Audis, the A3 actually has a traditional shifter. It is finished in leather and metal, so it feels very nice. Just pull back for drive, and you can bump over to the right to shift manually, though you won't find paddle shifters on most of the models. Going into reverse, you do have a standard backup camera across the lineup with active trajectory as well. And as you can see, the screen is basically split 50-50 between your view and your parking sensors to give you that extra visualization. And then back behind the shifter, you do have an electronic parking brake. Now right here, you've got your traditional MMI controls. So this does spin, and you can write on top of this. And then you've got metal shortcut buttons around it. We'll get into that a little later in the video. But anyways, now that brings us over here to our audio system. On this model, it is the 14-speaker, 705-watt Bang & Olufsen sound system, standard on Prestige, and that was optional on this model through the technology package. So let's go ahead and take a sample. Overall sound quality is excellent, like Bang & Olufsen sound systems always are. Now the next stop up here is our standard dual zone automatic climate control system. So as you can see, it is very simple to use. All your controls are located physically here, so you don't have to dig through any menus and display or anything like that. And additionally, you do have a really nice metal finish on the knob here. Just really looks and feels high quality. Additionally, you will find 3-stage heated seats that are standard across all the trims. However, you cannot get seat ventilation. Up above that, you've got another row of buttons here. So our first one is Drive Select. This is where you can control your 4 different drive modes. So you have Comfort, Automatic, Dynamic, and then you also have an individual mode. So you can just click into that, and that allows you to tailor individually the engine, transmission, and the steering response. And then off to the side of that, you have the button to turn off your auto start stop, turn off the parking sensors, turn off traction control, and this will turn off the display and hide it. But speaking of the display, that now brings us to the MMI system. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. So this is your typical Audi MMI system. So you've got a home screen that you can just cycle through all of these different things, and you can click into them to customize them. So we'll start out with our media. This is, I'm currently paired to the Bluetooth, and you can see the list of songs that are going to be playing. And you can actually jump into your folders and pick things specifically like that. You also have phone support, so you can hop straight in, go to your directory, and all of your contacts have automatically synced over from your connected smartphone. And you can also at the top search for a name by handwriting the name at the top. Now as far as your navigation, as I already pointed out, this is an option on the Premium Plus trim and standard on the Prestige. And you can activate your Google Earth Maps on this display as well, so you can have it both here and in the virtual cockpit. Now one of the biggest things, changes for 2019, is that you now have the Audi smartphone interface, which is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and that's now standard across all the trims, whereas you used to have to get at least the Premium Plus to have that. And one thing I do want to mention, it's not exactly related to MMI, but I failed to mention it earlier, is that for 2019 you've got auto parking abilities on the Prestige level vehicles, and that is new in 2019 and previously was not available. But anyways, that pretty much concludes a basic look at the Audi MMI system. However, we do have a dedicated tech help video available for those of you who want to learn more about it. A link to that is provided in the video description. Moving on up, you will find an auto dimming mirror with your 3 HomeLink universal remotes as standard equipment. Now one of the biggest and nicest standard features on the A3 is that you actually have a standard panoramic moonroof. Now this is a feature that in this class is basically unheard of as being standard equipment, so it's very nice that Audi includes this standard across the board. Additionally, you do have a windscreen, and this sunshade does operate separately from the actual moonroof, so you can close it, get the shade, but also still let the wind in, which is a nice benefit. But overall, the 2019 A3 continues to give you a lot of stuff for the money. If you're worried about this being a more basic interior, it's really just not a concern. Audi has done an excellent job. They give you a lot of the same things from the A4 and more expensive Audis right here in this more affordable package. But anyways, now go ahead and hand it off to Mason, who will finish up the rest of the cabin. So heading around to the rear seat of the 2019 Audi A3, you're going to find a surprising amount of space for its class.
you'll find 35.1 inches of rear legroom and 36.1 inches of rear headroom, which does make it larger than the all-new Mercedes A-Class. Now turning over here to the door trim, in typical Audi fashion, they haven't skimped out. So you do have a padded armrest down here, as was another padded area above that, and some real aluminum trim. Now in addition to that, your window is of course fully automatic, and down below that you do have some drawer storage. Turning over to the seat itself, it is a beautiful design, and it's also kind of a bucket shape, and it's also very comfortable. Now here in the center area, all A3s will find these rear vents. However, you will not find the smart charging USBs that are in all the other Audi models. Now turning over to the armrest here, it does fold down nicely. And you do have a little storage area inside that is felt lined. And in the end here, you do have some pop-out cup holders. Now up top we do have some LED lighting, as well as a really nice headliner, and an assist grip and coat hook. And as far as rear legroom is concerned, like I said, this is about the biggest one in the class. So behind Drew's seating position, I probably have 4 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up under the seat. Now with the seat scooted all the way back, it's not looking like I'm going to be able to fit back there, but this is pretty much expected for the class, and it is worth noting that this front seat scoots back a really long way. But overall, I really like the A3's rear seat. Of course, it is lacking a few features that some of the more expensive Audi models have, but overall it's extremely comfortable back here, and it's also very spacious for its class. Now the rear seats do fold 40-20-40 split, so all you have to do is locate this little handle, and it will fold down. Coming around to the trunk, all you have to do is locate this button under the handle, and it will open right up. Now as you can see, they have actually dampened it, so it's almost like a power trunk, and it opens all the way up. Now once you get inside the trunk of the A3, you're going to be impressed by the amount of space. It is rated at 10 cubic feet for the Quattro model, and that expands to 12.3 cubic feet for the front wheel drive model. Now like I said, it is pretty deep. I think it's more like lengthwise than it is height-wise, which is why its rating is a little bit less than the Mercedes CLA. But it is finished really nicely back here, and you do have a carpeted floorboard, as well as a little storage compartment on the left side. And like I said, the seats do fold 40-20-40 split, so you can fold down that middle portion or all of them. And underneath on the floor here, you do have a spare tire. We will discuss the pricing of this model in just a minute. And coming over to the passenger seat is that same lovely design, and a very impressive standard feature is the 12-way power adjustment with 4-way power lumbar support. And like I said, that is standard across all trims of the A3. Now in front of the passenger, you do have nice materials. So you have this padded dashboard, some Quattro branding, aluminum trim, and down below that you do have a surprisingly large glove box here with felt lining, as well as a CD/DVD player. Up top, the sun visor does have a mirror and light. It's LED, and you can also detach and extend it. But anyway, guys, that sums up all the rear areas of the A3. So now let's go ahead and check out the powertrain and take it on a quick test drive.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about the powertrains. Now, the actual engine options of this car have not changed this year. However, in line with the other Audi models, they have changed the naming scheme a little bit. So the standard model is now known as 40 TFSI, and that's your front-wheel drive model with the smaller displacement 4-cylinder engine. It is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, making 186 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque, and it's paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Now, if you want Quattro all-wheel drive, then you step up to the 45 TFSI. That is also a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, but it makes quite a bit more horsepower, 220 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And this model is paired with a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Now, as far as performance, what you're looking at is 6.6 seconds for the front-wheel drive 40, but 5.8 seconds with the 45 model. And compared to the A-Class that we drove about a month ago, that's quite a bit of a performance improvement. That does a little over 7 seconds, 0 to 60, and this is under 6, so that's something to keep in mind. Then finally, as far as your fuel economy, the front-wheel drive model achieves 26 city, 35 highway, 29 combined, and then the Quattro model, 22 city, 30 highway, 25 combined, and that is several mpg behind the A-Class. But anyways, now let's go ahead and take this sport model on a test drive. So first, taking off in the A3, definitely has plenty of grunt off the line. You know, because when you think about the smaller Audi, you just kind of automatically assume it's going to have less power, but it's really not the case. It's got the same type of power as in the A4, so you don't sacrifice anything in that regard. We do have an auto start stop system. It has just engaged, so once this traffic flows through, we'll see how quickly it restarts. Engages pretty fast and smoothly. Like we were saying, you can definitely get up to speed plenty fast. If you're thinking the entry-level Audi was going to have entry-level performance, you'd be wrong.
I'm very shocked by it, honestly.
Rounding some corners here, you can tell right off the bat this is a very agile and performance-oriented vehicle. Especially, like as we've already mentioned, we've got the sport suspension. We also have the 20-inch wheels with summer tires. So this setup here is particularly sporty, and you can tell definitely going around some corners that just the way it feels so planted.
Extremely tossable around these corners. It's a small vehicle, and that definitely helps it be able to just round these corners like nobody's business.
So we do have a sport mode that we can try out. So I just push the shifter back and engage the sport and see. what exactly is different about that. Seems definitely a peppier off the line. Your throttle response is more sensitive, of course, and it just dials everything in.
I also feel like it lets in a little bit more noise into the cabin. This is a turbo 4, so you can definitely hear that turbo whine, and it sounds pretty good.
I am noticing that the 7-speed dual clutch automatic is definitely behaving more aggressively in sport mode. It's giving you those torque matched downshifts and definitely upshifting quicker. And just in general, in both modes, this is a very fast shifting transmission. The dual clutch is really impressive. Of course, being an A3, as you probably know, this does share a foundation with the Volkswagen GTI, and it's definitely got that fun to drive nature from the GTI. Now, the one thing I'm not exactly sure about is why we don't have paddle shifters. I kind of feel like a car that is fun to drive and tossable like this should have paddle shifters across the board.
Yeah, I mean, this car is probably, I mean, it feels sportier than the A4 driving wise, just sitting here from the passenger seat. And, well, just to not have paddle shifters, it seems like a little bit of an overlook here. Now, I do also want to pay a little bit of attention to how comfortable this car is. I know we've been mentioning a lot about the performance and how it drives and how it accelerates and the transmission and stuff, but this car definitely is a very comfortable vehicle in addition to being sporty. I really don't see that much of a downgrade in ride quality in terms of like from this to the A4, and it just really drives really smoothly. The seats are super comfortable. It's 12-way adjusting even here on the passenger seat. So it's just a very comfortable car, so you really can have the best of both worlds with the A3.
I talked about it some already, but it's worth revisiting just how fast the steering response is. I mean, just a touch off of center, you already have a lot of steering response. It is super fast responding, and that really helps the car to give that extra bit of agility. And like I was saying, this is actually one of the best steering setups I've experienced in an Audi. This is definitely better than in the A4, for example. To me, it has a lot more feel and definitely goes for the sportier responsiveness versus that car. But overall, really impressed by the way this car drives. I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely exceeded my expectations. I guess what I had in mind, you know, like probably most of you may be thinking, smaller car, cheaper starting price, you know, this is going to be a downgrade from the A4, and it's really not. This is actually, I think, sportier than the A4, at least with the sport suspension and the big wheels and the summer tires. It definitely feels to me more alive than the A4 that we drove earlier in the year. And the engine has just about as much power. The performance is really there. The steering is fantastic. So overall, I have to say, really impressive driving dynamics.
Alrighty, and let's go ahead and discuss a little bit about the pricing of the 2019 Audi A3. So you will notice that for 2019 there is about a $1,000 price increase this year. So that now means that the premium model, which is the very base model, starts at $32,500 for the front wheel drive model. Now if you want the Quattro version of that, that's $35,600. Now if you go one rung up to the Premium Plus, which is what we have here, that starts at $36,500 and the Quattro at $39,600. And then finally you have the Prestige model, which is fully loaded, and that's $41,700 in front wheel drive, or $44,800 with the Quattro all-wheel drive system. So it is worth noting that Quattro is not standard on any of the trim levels. Now as far as how this model is equipped in particular, we do have quite a few options checked off. So we do have optional Mythos black paint for $595. We also have the technology package, which includes all of the nice virtual cockpit stuff, for $3,200. We have the optional 19-inch wheels for $800. HomeLink garage door openers for $295. The sport suspension for $250. Audi beam rings for $250. All-weather floor mats for $180. We have a paint protection for $175, as well as lightning connectors and Type-C adapters for $110, and the $995 destination charge. So all told, this particular model, which is pretty nicely equipped, is $46,450. So that's basically right in line with the competitors here, and you are getting a really nice package for the $46,000 in an Audi, so that's a good value for this car.
Well guys, we've enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2019 Audi A3 Premium Plus. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.
Mm-hmm.